welcome back again. Now, we've looked at references, how to create them, and we've talked about some reasons to use them. For example, to be able to alter an argument. Now we're going to look at how to use references in order to increase the efficiency of our program. Now, let's say that we want to be able to pass a reference into a function because we want the efficiency of not copying that original variable or that original object. But we still want to safeguard it. We want to keep it from accidentally being changed. There's a way that we can do that. We can take advantage of the efficiency of references while still safeguarding our reference. And we do that by using what's called a constant reference. The program that we're looking at for this is an inventory displayer program. It creates a vector of strings that represents a hero's inventory, then calls a function to display that inventory. It passes the displayer function the vector of items as a reference, so we've got the efficiency of using the reference to that vector rather than creating a copy of the vector. But we pass it as a special kind of reference that prohibits the function from ever changing that vector. So let's see how that works. I've got my new text document here, and I'm going to name this one inventory displayer.cpp. Okay, my introductory comments. The name of the program is Inventory Displayer, and this program demonstrates constant references. We're going to include IOStream. We're also going to include vector and string. We'll include string and include vector. I will define that I'm using the std namespace. Okay, now a comment that the parameter that I'm sending is a constant reference to a vector of strings. So I have my function prototype for my displayer function called display, and it will receive one argument, a const vector string reference called inventory. Remember, if we put const in front of vector, this creates a constant rather than a variable vector. So it's passing a constant reference to our string vector. Now, I'll open my main function, and I'm going to create a string vector called inventory, and I'm going to push back sword armor and shield. Now I'll call my function display inventory, and I'll return 0. Now, just to remind myself, my parameter vector is a constant reference to a vector of strings. I have a void function called display, which receives the const vector of strings, but it's a reference, not an actual vector. You know what? I've now given a different name to it, and in my comment here, just for the sake of explanation, I should say that the parameter inventory is a constant reference to a vector of strings. Okay, so close my parentheses, open my function, and now we'll display the inventory. We'll do this using a for loop, which we've done this before. Excuse me. Vector string const iterator equals vec.begin. And we want this for loop to run until my iterator iter, which I left that out here. So for vector string const iterator iter equals vec.begin. We want it to run as long as iter is not equal to vec.end. And after each time through the loop, we want to increment iter. Okay, so in the body of our loop, we will just see out the reference to the dereferenced iterator. Sorry. So we will actually see the text held in that element of the vector, not the iterator number, which is an integer. Okay, that is all for that function. Now let me run through this again, explain what happens here. We've got our include files. We're including iostream, string, and vector. We are giving a directive to use the std namespace. We are giving a prototype of a function called display, which receives as its argument the constant vector reference inventory. We open our main function. We define our string inventory, our vector of strings called inventory, and then we add 3 items to that vector: sword, armor, and shield. Then we call our display function, sending it the variable, the vector inventory, which, because we've declared this as a const vector, it will send it as a reference, not as a copy of the vector. Then we return 0, close the main function. Our display function, once again, we say that it receives the constant string vector reference vec. We display your items, and then we iterate through the vector, printing each item in that vector. So we'll save and compile. Okay, main function doesn't really print anything at all. All of the printing happens when we run our inventory, our display inventory function, and you can see your items: sword, armor, shield. So that is using constant references as opposed to variable references. Now, remember, and I think a couple of you may have gotten trapped by this, if you declare something as a constant, you cannot change it. Constant means forever. You're not allowed to change it. If you want to change something, it has to be a variable or a plain old vector, or a plain old reference if you are referencing another variable or a vector. You cannot change constants. So if I wanted to change something inside of this function, the program would not allow me to do that. That's just the rules of the language. If something is a constant, can't be changed. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. I will be more than happy to to meet with you if you need to meet on this. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.